A heads up on this one. This is going to contain discussions of assault, abuse, manipulation, really sensitive material. So discretion is advised on this video. You've seen the title. You know what we're talking about. In a report by the Wall Street Journal, it has been revealed that new allegations have emerged against former WWE owner and TKO executive chairman of the board, Vince McMahon. Now, this suit was filed in the U.S. District Court of Connecticut yesterday. It also lists former head of talent relations John Laurinaitis and WWE as defendants. Now, these allegations are made by Janelle Grant, a former WWE employee between June of 2019 and March of 2022. Grant's the former WWE employee who settled with Vince McMahon for $3 million, a settlement that led to the investigation by the WWE board into Vince McMahon in the summer of 2022. It was around this time that John Laurinaitis was fired from the company and Vince McMahon announced his retirement from WWE. This lawsuit alleges that Janelle Grant was paid only $1 million of the $3 million and is seeking to both void the agreement made and get unspecified financial damages. The court documents are available and the allegations are very unpleasant reading. We'll talk you through the overall lawsuit and some of the claims from within it. And it comes with a warning, as we said at the start, that there is some discussion in here that isn't going to be pleasant and discretion is advised if you want to proceed further. Now, the lawsuit claims that Miss Grant first met Vince McMahon in March of 2019 after a friend reached out to McMahon on her behalf to help her find employment. Across several meetings, Vince McMahon made promises of a yet-to-be-determined role within the company and allegedly began to demonstrate, quote, an increasing lack of boundaries. This included greeting her in his underwear, repeatedly asking for hugs, touching her, spending hours sharing details about his personal life. And in return for employment, the lawsuit alleges the McMahon pushed for a physical relationship with Miss Grant. The lawsuit says that in June of 2019, after succumbing to those demands, Grant began work as an administrative coordinator in WWE's legal department. Briefly, Miss Grant worked with the XFL in 2020, and she, according to this document, asked to be moved there full-time, a request that was denied. Instead, she was transferred in March of 2021 to work with WWE Talent Relations and John Laurinaitis. It was here, the lawsuit claims, that, quote, forcible touching and overt behavior became part of daily life. Details in this document of accounts where Grant claims that she was being offered to WWE employees, such as the named John Laurinaitis, as an object for gratification for her new boss. It is alleged that McMahon also shared explicit photographs and videos of Grant with other men within and outside of WWE. This includes WWE producers, executives, members of TV production, and, quote, a world-famous athlete and former UFC heavyweight champion with whom WWE was actively trying to sign a new contract. The physical relationship with Vince McMahon himself continued throughout Miss Grant's employment with WWE. The lawsuit claims that McMahon, quote, became more sadistic and his fantasies focused on control and group scenarios in which Miss Grant was to be physically overwhelmed and subservient. Throughout the filing, there are allegations of physical and emotional abuse. Ms. Grant allegedly sustaining injuries and receiving a number of messages of a very graphic nature from Mr. McMahon. The filing says that Ms. Grant was subject to, quote, acts of extreme cruelty and degradation by McMahon. The suit claims that Ms. Grant, quote, had no idea how sordid it would become, nor how the psychological torture and physical violence would leave her feeling helpless, isolated, and trapped. Now, it was in January of 2022, the lawsuit states, that Linda McMahon found out about the relationship and threatened McMahon with a divorce. At this point, Vince McMahon allegedly informed Grant that her employment with WWE was over and he wanted her to sign a non-disclosure agreement. McMahon allegedly pressured Grant into signing the NDA, which she ultimately did. The NDA was for McMahon to pay Ms. Grant $3 million for her not to discuss her relationship or to disparage him. The lawsuit alleges that McMahon stopped making payments after the initial $1 million installment, claiming that Grant had leaked information to the press. Following the end of her employment, McMahon allegedly continued to exploit Grant, quote, including attempting to traffic her to a WWE star who would be in New York City for a live event and TV taping in March of 2022. The lawsuit states, quote, the defendant's predatory conduct has left Miss Grant crippled both physically and mentally, including from debilitating symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. These symptoms led to her termination from her subsequent job running her building's operations due to her inability to leave her home for weeks at a time. A special committee of the WWE board investigated McMahon's alleged misconduct back in the summer of 2020. Allegations that were, in the end, clearly didn't go anywhere because McMahon returned to the board. There was no wrongdoing found. The investigation concluded in November of that year, but it is alleged that the special committee did not interview Grant or request any documents from her, despite Grant expressing that she was willing to cooperate. McMahon later forced his way back into WWE in January of 2023, being elected the executive chairman. The lawsuit seeks a judgment that the NDA Grant signed is invalid, and under state and federal law, they also seek compensatory and punitive damages. This is also under other laws, including the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. Janelle Grant's lawyer, Ann Callis, said, quote, today's complaint seeks to hold accountable two WWE executives who assaulted and trafficked plaintiff Janelle Grant, as well as the organization that facilitated or turned a blind eye to the abuse and then swept it under the rug. She is an incredibly private and courageous person who has suffered deeply at the hands of Mr. McMahon and Mr. Laurinaitis. Ms. Grant hopes that her lawsuit will prevent other women from being victimized. The organization is well aware of Mr. McMahon's history of depraved behavior, and it's time that they take responsibility for the misconduct of its leadership. End quote. Since these allegations have come to light, TKO have put out a statement saying Mr. McMahon does not control TKO, nor does he oversee the day-to-day operations of WWE. While this matter predates our TKO executive team's tenure at the company, we take Ms. Grant's horrific allegations very seriously and are addressing this matter internally. A spokesperson for Vince McMahon has also given a statement saying, quote, the lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene made-up instances that never occurred, and a vindictive distortion of the truth, and he will vigorously defend himself. We'll have more on this story as we get more at cultaholic.com.